We should be good. Check the feed real quick. And we'll get rolling. Shalom, shalom. Let's see. Let's see where we at. All right, we good to go.
This is truly unbelievable. Multiple different Trump supporters dressed up as black people for Halloween and mocked them for being on EBT. This is one of the most painful symbols in all of U.S. history, and unfortunately, it's become normalized in Donald Trump's America. Multiple different accounts participated, thinking this is a funny joke, and as you can tell, it's got millions of views. This person is even followed by Charlie Kirk's account. How surprising. Here's the last one. Again, over 2 million views. She says, yo, yo, in a terrible word. In 5 hours, EBT ends, thinking she's funny or something. What they're doing, of course, is known as B-Face. I can't say the word on here, but of course it has a long and terrible history. It was used in shows to demonize black people, to depict them as lazy, ignorant, or greedy. Those caricatures, of course, help justify segregation, discrimination, and the denial of basic human rights. When somebody today revives that imagery for laughs, they are not being funny. They're echoing the language of hate that was used to keep people oppressed for generations. But that wasn't enough for the MAGA crowd. They also had to pair it with hatred towards EBT, mocking poverty, mocking hunger, and mocking the people that are struggling to survive in an economy that's already stacked against them. I promise there's nothing funny about mocking oppression or mocking people for needing help to eat.
All right, shalom. I want to give all the praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shai Bahasham Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who taught me this truth. Shalom to the hopeful elect. I'm back with another quick lesson through the Holy Spirit, the Rakakwadash. All right, and the mockery of blackface, the mockery of the blackface proves that we are the Israelites, right? Because the Bible clearly prophesies that the Israelites will become a mockery, a byword, a reproach, you know, and a ridicule among all nations because we sinned against Yahweh Shem Yahushai. All right, so I wanted to go into this. I saw this video that we just played in the intro, and that had me look into some more, you know, blackface history videos, things like that. And I just wanted to just go through a few things. The Lord willing, all right, this lesson is edifying. All right, but let's get into it, man. But again, the mockery of blackface proves that we are the Israelites, man. We fulfill the prophecies written, which go back to the curses. As I said before, you can't there's no way you can overlook, you know, the curses that are written, you know, that are written of us that we fulfill, you know.
Blackface.
Blackface. America is not new to scandals about blackface.
Blackface Ministrelsy had tremendous power, and the whole idea of objectifying a person and taking away their humanity and reducing them to stereotypes and images and making fun of them is a painful experience for those people who are the subject of this kind of treatment.
Yeah, and that's prophecy. All right, what she said fulfills prophecy. All right, this is Deuteronomy. Deuteronomy 28 and verse 37, it says, and thou should become an astonishment and a proverb, an astonishment, a proverb, and a byword among all nations, whether the Lord Yahweh Shem Yahushua shall lead thee. You see? Let's get that in the NLT. All right. So this is in the NLT. Same verse, Deuteronomy 28 and 37, it says, you will become an object of horror, ridicule and mockery among all the nations to which the Lord Yahweh Shem Yahushua sends you. All right, so this is all part of the that shame and ridicule that came upon our people. To this very day, it's the same thing, right?
whole idea of objectifying a person and taking away their humanity and reducing them to stereotypes and images and making fun of them is a painful experience for those people who are the subject of this kind of treatment.
Baby, I'm coming. Oh, God, I hope I'm not late.
Yeah, real quick. You damn Edomites, you gonna pay. All right, because the Lord, he didn't forget. All right, let's get that real quick. This is Ecclesiastes 3:15. You know, Ecclesiastes 3:15, that which have been is now, and that which is to be have already been, and Yahweh Shemel Shai requireth which is past. All right, you know, you got videos from 1926, the late 1800s of these devils mocking Jake, man. Okay, ridicule, the scorn, the shame, right? But all of that's going to be required in the time of judgment. You know, the Lord didn't forget.
There was a controversy on The Real Housewives of New York with Luann, as she dressed as Diana Ross, and she made her skin look darker than it really is, and people said that that was racist. And I don't know, I thought, like, who doesn't love Diana Ross?
I think it's going to take some time to move past it. These are just isolated instances that we know on a wide public scale. This history and the prevalence of this history is widespread. And I think this is the perfect opportunity to engage in those dialogues that use blackface minstrelsy as an example of how race has functioned in this society and how it continues to curtail us for really treating each other fairly and responsibly and championing equality for all.
Yeah, this whole blackface, this is heavily rooted in America's hateful history against you, you Israelites, you so-called Negro, Latino, Native Americans, and Hispanics. All right, but again, these devils are going to pay. Right? Let's grab another one. This is Psalm 44. Right? This is Psalms 44, verse 13 in the NLT. It says, "You let our neighbors mock us. We are an object of scorn and derision to those around us." Verse 14, "You have made us the butt of their jokes." Okay, when it comes to the tribes, you know, all the so-called nicknames, nigger, porch monkey, tar baby, beaner, border hopper. All right, all these, all the names they get out there, man. Okay, we fulfill that prophecy. You have made us the butt of their jokes. They shake their heads at us in scorn. Verse 15, "We can't escape the constant humiliation." All throughout the society, our people are constantly humiliated, mocked, all right? You know, you look down upon, okay? When it comes to, you know, civil matters and things like that, when it comes to true justice, our people don't see it, okay? When Jake does stand up and try to, you know, fight for what's right and make his voice heard, he gets shitted on. Okay, you know, the whole Black Lives Matter. I know y'all remember that. You know, Esau was countering it with all lives matter, right? Your life is not acknowledged in society. You don't matter. All right. We talked about the years back when they had, what's the guy named, the quarterback for the 49ers, Kaepernick. All right, when he took the kneel during the national anthem, all them Edomites across the world was pissed, right? And they tried to act like they didn't know why, you know, niggas was taking the knee at the national anthem because of the police brutality, right? But them Edomites was like, nah, you niggas, your life don't matter. Hey, just, you know, shut up and ball, basically. Shut up and catch the football, right? But that just adding to that point, that's that constant humiliation that our people go through in this place, man. Right? Who fits that? We can't escape the constant humiliation. Shame is written across our faces, you see? It says, all we hear are the taunts of our mockers. All we see are our vengeful enemies, right? So not only Esau is a part of this, this blackface mockery, but it's all the nations. And I'm gonna make that point in a second, right? All these nations partake in the mockery and the reproach of our people. You know, let me get this too. I had this pulled up earlier. Just like I said, it just that first video had me looking around, at the whole blackface thing. All right, the minstrel shows, right? Esau gonna pay for all of this, right? You got videos, like I said, that go back to like the late 1800s of these devils mocking Jake in their condition and oppression, But again, he's not going to get away. Let's pull this up as well. Right? It's 2 days ago. Right? Indisputable with Dr. Rashad Ritchie. All right. It says, watch, white influencers proudly wear blackface for Halloween. We'll watch a little bit of this. It's like a short video, about 8 minutes.
We had Halloween. People celebrated. Multiple people decided to celebrate by putting on blackface. Every damn year we go through this. Put it at full mask. So we have a rundown. Let's get to it. Comedian Brittany Venti was just one of many influencers who social media saw in blackface this Halloween. She posed in blackface with a box of fried chicken, captioning the image with, "When that EBT hit," end quote. The comedian also identifies as mixed race, which is more confusing, actually, not less. Okay. And this was Britney's way of responding to the controversy once the post went viral. "My costume wasn't just random. It has lore and built up of drama with the Black community, especially over the last month. It is quite literally on brand for me to do blackface as it is a continuation of a running satirical bit about how the Black community is extremely racist to mulattoes for their skin color. It's just really funny how I'm not, quote, allowed to do blackface, yet they're allowed to harass mulattoes for being a, quote, Black mom biracial, end quote. Calling me every name in the book and even insulting my dead parents. Let's keep that up for a moment. Misguided aggression here. Ma'am, I definitely never have spoken about your mulatto heritage. I would not denigrate it in any way, shape, form, or fashion. And typically, when someone offends you by doing something, the juvenile or the immature response is to do the same to them. To generalize individuals, well, that's a different, bias is what it is. Real simple. Dear sister, if you don't want to be generalized because of your background, then seek not to generalize others because of theirs. I'll explain at the end of this segment why blackface is offensive, because some people authentically do not know the history. And I'm okay with providing some proper education and context for that.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. These are not random acts. This is a deep, rooted history in America, man. All right, but it makes the point. If it proves again that blackface proves that we're the Israelites, man. We're the mockery of the nations, man. It is, and it's not just Esau. It's Moab, it's Ammon, it's Ishmael, right? And I got a couple of videos I want to show on that too. Because all these nations despise Jake, man. But it's prophecy.
There's more, but it didn't end there. There was also costumes that involve blackface this Halloween. Videos here.
By the way, half the struggles that Black women think they face, it's of their own doing. Running around in nails like this, running around in earrings like this, like you people fight every day. You people fight every day. Could you choose any outfit and get up that's like less conducive to fighting? Seriously. They wear wigs that can be pulled out. They put braids in their hair that could rip the rest of their hair out. And then they complain about having alopecia. No, it's self-induced alopecia. That's like a cutter. That's like one of those losers who cut themselves. That's like them having a scar and being like, I can't believe I have scars. Like, what? Black women, you tear your hair out by the roots. You put every sort of chemical on your hair to straighten it out, despite being so proud of being Black. And then you wonder why you have alopecia. And then you guys fight all the time. And yet.
Hey, but she's not lying, though, right? Real quick, you know? And these Edomites, like we said, and these Edomites on these platforms wilding, man. Losing it. You know? They're getting bolder and bolder. But this is Trump's America that we live in now, you know? This is Jeremiah 24. Just adding on to the curses, right? Jeremiah 24 and verse 9, it says, and I will deliver them to be removed into all the kingdoms of the earth for their hurt, to be a reproach and a proverb, a taunt and a curse in all places, whether I shall drive them. See that? So we would be a reproach and a proverb, a taunt and a curse, right? This is what we're seeing right here. Everything that's happening has been written, you know. This word for reproach. Just want to see what it says. Reproach, scorn, taunt, scorn upon enemy, reproach, resting upon condition of shame and disgrace. Yeah, and this is what this Edomite woman is doing. All right, shame, reproach, disgrace. You know, yeah, that's it. Let's go back. You know.
You wear massive hoop earrings. You wear weaves in your hair. You wear fake eyelashes. You wear fake nails. All of these things are not conducive to fighting. Okay.
Put it up full mass. The tub of ignorance you just listened to came from Lily Gaddis of the Lily Show. Silly Lily. Another social media user posted a video in blackface while performing an offensive rant. Any beep is in lieu of the N-word, just warning you in advance. Here it is.
Where the f my food stamps? Yeah, y'all hate Black people for real. Where the f are they? Like, respect Black women or else, nigga. How the f
Oh, man. And these Edomites are telling you, you know?
big one costs more, but way less than my EBT.
Yeah, put it up full mass here. We just want to go and just put everybody. They all would like to be famous. This is their audition tape, and we want to help their careers. So if you see them and you know them, let them know, way to go. You have gone viral and you made it indisputable. It's good to have goals in life. We're here to make dreams come true. Another group decided to bypass blackface, and they just went ahead and put on a KKK clown suit, and they called it a day. All right, okay. All right, there you go. Halloween, sir. Jackson, what say you?
I was. Yeah, you can watch the rest of that. All right, but the point I was making about not only Esau, right, but these other nations as well, right? They're in on it too, right? I'm pretty sure you, all of you that's viewing this video, saw this one before too, right?
It's not often that you would consider an ad for detergent offensive, but then again, it is not often that you will see something like this.
So I guess the nigga was dirty. She threw him in the washing machine, washed him off, and he came out the right person. Man.
Like, what century are we in? This is, again, a laundry soap commercial. It began airing in China this month. Fair to say, reaction on social media, swift and harsh. Many have accused the company of, well, whitewashing, I suppose. According to the blog Shanghaius, the ad is actually a copy of an Italian spot from nearly 10 years ago. That commercial, though, used the tagline. Yeah, I can't even read this. Here's the deal. Somebody actually went into a room and pitched this idea, and a lot of people said, yep, that's it. And that is awful.
Yeah, hey, all you nations are gonna get it, man. Right, real quick. This is Baruch. This is Baruch chapter 2 and 1. All right. Baruch 2 and 1, it says, therefore the Lord Yahweh Shem Shah have made good his word, which he pronounced against us and against our judges. I didn't mean to make that bigger slack here. Here we go. Baruch 2 and 1, therefore the Lord Yahweh Shem Shah have made good his word, which he pronounced against us and against our judges that judge Israel, and against our kings and against our princes and against the men of Israel and Judah, to bring upon us great plagues, such as never happened under the whole heaven, as it came to pass in Jerusalem, according to the things that were written in the law of Moses. Verse 3, that a man should eat the flesh of his own son and the flesh of his own daughter, and that happened. All right, through the different sieges of Jerusalem, us falling captive to these nations, that happened, and it's going to happen again. It says, verse 4, moreover, he have delivered them to be in subjection to all the kingdoms that are round about us, to be as a reproach and desolation among all people round about, where the Lord Yahweh Shem Shah have scattered them. See that? So again, we no matter where we would be at in the world, we would be in a reproach. Okay, you got the Edomites making blackface, so-called Chinese, the so-called Arabic nations, right? They all have their form of what you call blackface. Okay, but it's, again, I'm bringing it back to the scriptures to show you that we are the people of the book, man. We are the people of prophecy, man. No doubt about it. Right? Verse 5, thus we were cast down and not exalted. See, that's the condition that as a nation, this is what we're in right now. We were cast down and not exalted because we have sinned against the Lord, Yahweh Shem Shah, our power, and have not been obedient unto his voice. So therefore he poured the curses upon us. Okay, this is a result of our disobedience, from us falling away from Yahweh Shem Shah. We became that shame, that reproach, that curse, that mockery, that byword, man. Okay, we're a joke to the nations. It says, verse 6, to the Lord Yahweh Shem Shah, our power, our appertaineth righteousness, but unto us and to our fathers open shame, as appeareth to this day. See that? Open shame, right? Let me go back to that damn it. Did it go away? Salakia. But yeah, it says open shame as unto this day. The blackface and all the bullshit. These Edomites, you just hella bold, unto this day. Right? It says, verse 6 again, to the Lord Yahweh Shem Shah, our power, appertaineth righteousness, but unto us and to our fathers open shame as appeareth this day. verse 7, for all these plagues are come upon us, which the Lord Yahweh Shemel Shai have pronounced against us. It says, yet have we not prayed before the Lord Yahweh Shemel Shai, that we might turn everyone from the imaginations of his wicked heart. Wherefore the Lord Yahweh Shemel Shai watched over us for evil, and the Lord Yahweh Shemel Shai have brought it upon us. See? For the Lord is righteous in all his works, which he have commanded us. It says, yet we have not hearkened unto his voice to walk in the commandments of the Lord that he have set before us. Right. So this is that punishment, if you will. Right. Let's check this out. Here's some more.
It is offensive. And it's ugly. In the Arab world, racist depictions of black people are rampant. And the use of blackface is rife. Black people are routinely cast into subservience, playing servants, prostitutes, or they're shown as straight-up objects of ridicule.
Servants, right? What do you say? Servants and objects of ridicule. Prostitutes, niggas, thugs. This is what's pushed in the world. This is why these stereotypes have been created, right? This is what the nations view Jake around the world, right?
Straight up objects of ridicule.
For example, my father told me all black men will leave their wives. This man will leave you. My mother told me all black people have AIDS. Like, those things are not true, first of all. Well, my father did not approve of my marriage to my husband.
And why
my
not?
father, yeah, because he's black.
Oh.
So there's a lot of racism in the Arab country. Like I said, the culture. Islam says no black man is better than an Arab man. No Arab man is better than a black man. But my father and my mother were adamant against, no, he's black. No, they didn't even give him a chance. They didn't meet him. They didn't, give him an opportunity. And that hurt. But when something is wrong, it's wrong. So you got to stand up against it.
There you go. So here it is, right? Like I said, all these nations are involved. All right. There's videos out there we've seen, again, of Moab, so-called Chinese, mocking Jake, these so-called Arabics, Ishmaelites, all right, these Edomites, everybody, man. All right. But again, hey, it proves that we fulfill prophecy, is my point. Real quick. All right. This is Lamentations 2. Lamentations 2 and 15. It says, all that passed by clapped their hands. Salakia. One second. All right, Lamentations 2 and 15. All that passed by clapped their hands at thee. They hiss and wag their head at the daughter of Jerusalem, saying, is this the city that the men call the perfection of beauty, the joy of the whole earth? Right? Verse 16, it says, all thy enemies have opened their mouth against thee. They hiss and gnash the teeth. They say, we have swallowed her up. Certainly this is the day that we look for. We have found, we have seen it. All right. So pretty much, all the nations rejoiced and mocked, all right, when we fell from our glory. This is why we're the object of ridicule. We're not regarded on this side, to these nations as that peculiar chosen people, man. At least not yet, but the Lord's going to turn that around soon to come. This is the Lord, Yahweh Shemel Shai, have done that which he devised. He have fulfilled his word that he have commanded in the days of old. He have thrown down and have not pitied. He have caused thy enemy to rejoice over thee, and he have set up the horn of thy adversaries, right? Because we're being ruled over by our enemies, the nations. When you read Psalms 83, all right, it goes into the conspiring of Esau being the head and the other nations included to cut Israel off from being a nation. All right. So even within that, that shows you that these nations know exactly who we are. All right. And it all ties back to prophecy. And in this last part of this video here, right? You know, this woman was proving that you know, these so-called, you know, Arabs, these Ishmaelites, they hate you, Jakes, man. Jake want to run around and be Muslims and shit and pray to Allah, right? Them Ishmaelites, they don't respect you, right? You know, Jake don't understand, man. You know, just want to read this real quick. You know, we've done lessons on this before, but this is from fairplanet.org. It says, forgotten slavery, the Arab Muslim slave trade. All right, you niggas forget when you want to run around here and be Muslims and talk about the Quran and pray to Allah and all of that bullshit. All right, these Ishmaelites, these so-called Arabs, had you in slavery. Okay, hardcore slavery, the trans-Saharan slave trade, man. Right? I'll just read a little bit. Okay. But it says, over the years, global attention and discussions on slavery have primarily focused on the transatlantic slave trade, dominated by American and European merchants. However, another equally significant trade has been largely overlooked. And in some cases, treated as a taboo subject, despite its profound impact on Africa, its people, and their way of life across generations, right? It says the Arab Muslim slave trade, also known as the trans-Saharan or Eastern slave trade, is recognized as the longest in history, spanning over 1,300 years. It forcibly removed millions of Africans from their homeland. And when he's talking about Africans, they're talking about Israelites, because we're not Africans, all right? We're not Hamites, okay? Ishmael had Jake in hardcore slavery. It says subjecting them to brutal conditions while they labored in foreign lands. See that? So that goes back to matter of fact, let me go back and read that. Yeah, here we go. Jeremiah 24:9 again, it says, and I would deliver them to be removed into all kingdoms of the earth for their hurt. How did that happen? Slavery, man. Captivity. All right, we were scattered to all the various nations. It says to be a reproach, in a proverb, in a taunt, in a curse, in all places, whether I shall drive them. See that? So this is a major part of history. Okay, let's go back. All right, reading on, it says scholars have referred to it as a veiled genocide, a term reflecting the extreme humiliation and near-death experiences endured by the enslaved. See that? And we read about in Psalms 44 on how we were constantly humiliated, right? The extreme humiliation and near-death experience endured by the enslaved, all right, the Israelites. From their capture in slave markets to their forced labor abroad and the harrowing journeys in between. While the exact number of Africans captured in the trans-Saharan slave trade remains disputed, most scholars estimate the figure to be around 9 million. Okay, it's probably higher than that, because I know within the transatlantic slave trade, it was like over like 200 million. You know, so it said over 9 million in the trans-Saharan slave trade. All right, where the Ishmaelites had Jake in hardcore slavery. All right, so you niggas gonna pay too. All the nations are gonna pay. Now, understanding history, you should understand why all nations are going head first straight into captivity. All right. It says, who was behind the trans-Saharan slave trade? The Eastern slave trade in Africa was primarily concentrated in the East and West African regions. In East Africa, the coastal region was the main route. How you say that word? Tanzania, Zanzibar, archipelago becoming a central hub for this trade. It says, It says the Arabs raided sub-Saharan Africa for 13 centuries without interruption. Reads a loosely translated excerpt from The Veiled Genocide, a book by Tidane Ndiaye, a Senegalese author and anthropologist. Quote, most of the millions of men they deported have disappeared as a result of inhumane treatment. This painful page in history of Black people has apparently not been completely turned. See? And we'll read a little bit more. Reading on, it says, enterprising Arab merchants and middlemen would gather in Zanzibar to acquire raw materials such as cloves and ivory. They would then purchase enslaved Africans or enslaved Israelites who were forced to carry these goods and labor on plantations abroad. Slaves from as far as Sudan, Ethiopia, and Somalia were brought to the Zanzibar market and shipped across the Indian Ocean, the Persian Gulf, and the Arabian Peninsula. And they were forced to work in places like Oman, Iran, Saudi Arabia, and Iraq. Notably, right, so and that proves that, hey, there's a lot of Jakes out there, man. There's a lot of Jakes in Iran and Saudi Arabia, Iraq, Afghanistan. Jake is all up in there in the so-called Middle East, you know, scattered everywhere. Notably, African Muslims were exempt from enslavement due to Islamic legal views, right? A little bit more. It says the trans-Saharan caravan focused on West African region. Who was in the West Africa? Judah. Okay, after 70 AD, right? You had over 1 million Israelites flee into the western interiors of Africa, what they called the Gold Coast, the Slave Coast, stretching from Niger Valley to the Gulf of Guinea, following the trans-Saharan routes to slave markets in the Maghreb and Nile Basin. The journey, which could last up to 3 months, subjected slaves to brutal conditions, with many succumbing to disease, hunger, and thirst along the way. And that's what happened in those journeys, man. Those long journeys on those slave ships, man. Many of our people died, man. Millions. As I said, the numbers estimated was what? What did it say? How many million was it? It was about 9 million. There it was. They said about 9 million, right? The figure to be around 9 million. And we know it's higher than that. All right, a little bit more, and then we'll grab a scripture and wrap this up. Okay. It says it is estimated that 50% of the enslaved individuals in this trade died during transit. You see that? So these fucking Ishmaelites, they gonna pay too, right? When you go into the history, they was chopping the rods off of Jake, and then they would have Jake around their women, knowing that they couldn't do anything, man. Just complete wickedness, man. You know, gouging their eyes out, cutting off their hands, right? When you really get all into it and you read the history, man, right? So you know how these Ishmaelites feel about you, right? It says sex slavery and the origins of Black Arabs, right? It says while European merchants primarily sought strong young men to work as laborers on their plantations, Arab merchants focused on concubinage, capturing women and girls to serve as sex slaves in harems, right? Matter of fact, let me get that real quick. That's prophecy as well, too. Because not only did Esau did this, but Ishmael did this too. All these nations, man. This is Joel, right? This is Joel 3:3, and they have cast lots for my people. All right, that's those slave auctions. And they have cast lots for my people and have given a boy for a harlot. See, and sold a girl for wine that they might drink. You see that? This was going on during the time of slavery, man. All right, when you had Amalek, Esau, Ishmael, Ham, Moab, right? This is what they was doing. Child trafficking, sex slaves, selling little boys and girls for raw materials and shit like that, right? Splitting family, you know, that's the history. That's prophecy, right? It says capturing women and girls to serve as sex slaves in harems. In fact, the demand for female slaves was so high that merchants would often double their price, with the ratio of captured women to men being 3-to-1. Male slaves were often assigned to work as field laborers or guards at harems to prevent them from reproducing in case they became intimate with female slaves. Men and boys were subjected to castration, as I just talked about. Right? Ishmael was cutting the men's rods off. Right? Men and boys were subjected to castration, a brutal procedure that resulted in the deaths of many during the process. So many of our people died in that process, man. Right? It says the castration of black male slaves in the most inhumane manner altered an entire generation, as these men could not reproduce, said Liberty Mukomo, a lecturer at the University of Nairobi Institute of Diplomacy and International Studies. The quote, Arab masters seared children with the black female slaves. This devastation by the men saw those who survived committing suicide. This development explains the modern black Arabs who are still trapped by history. It says what made the Arab slave trade particularly brutal and painful, he pointed out, was the degree and intensity with which it disrupted the entire social, reproductive, and economic lives of black people, leaving a deep and lasting impact on their communities, man. See, hey, these Ishmaelites, they're going to get fucked up too, right? Lingering legacy of slavery in Arab country. Yeah, because you still got a lot of slavery that's going on amongst those nations, man. All right, but that's the point. So you don't think these nations going to pay, man? Right? Jeremiah 30:16. Therefore, all they that devour thee shall be devoured, and all thy adversaries, every one of them, shall go into captivity, right? All of our enemies are going to go into slavery, man. And I don't understand why niggas are still getting emotional when these scriptures come out, man. Is rightfully justified, man. Okay? Psalms 83 has not been accounted for yet. Okay? Remember, all of these nations were involved in the downtrodden of our nation, man. All right, the scriptures talk about what nation have not partaken in the spoils of Jerusalem, man. All right, so you're hearing about, we just read about what Ishmael was doing. We know what Esau was doing, right? There was a video that this Jake woman, she was going into how these Edomites was eating our bodies. Lord, I'll do a lesson on that one a little later, right? Get into that, man. The atrocities, the Edom, man. But all these nations are going into hardcore slavery, man. No ifs, ands, and buts about it, right? Every one of them shall go into captivity, and they that spoil thee shall be a spoil, and all that prey upon thee will I give for a prey. So, hey, this is the payback, man. As we read in Ecclesiastes 3:15, nobody gets away, right? All these nations are going down, right? This is Revelation 13 in verse 10. Let's get that real quick. Revelation 13:10. He that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity. He that killeth with the sword must be killed with the sword. Here is the patience and faith of the saints. All right, this is what we waiting on, man. This is what you call true retribution, man. Okay, and this is just, this is just a little bit of what we have been exposed to, man. Imagine when we find out everything, man. All right, to the T of what happened, But hey, all these nations are going down, man. Bottom line, man. So that's pretty much the point, man. Like I said, I saw that video going into the blackface, and then I got into all these other articles here and pulled some things up. So, but I pray that I pray that this lesson was edifying, man. All right, the big payback is coming. Shalom.